Hey everybody, welcome to Coffee with Clipa. I'm Stacy Aguirre with Clipa, the Christmas Light Installation Pros Association. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing, and I'm here today with Ryan Fox from Lights All Year. Ryan, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you and what you do and why you're
Yeah.
here.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks for having me, Stacy, and thanks to Clipa. Let's see here. I guess I'll give you a little backstory. Me and my business partner started a tree removal and landscaping company in '09, and we decided we needed to do something in the wintertime to supplement our income. So he was mowing the yard one day and was like, "Hey, you know what? People put up Christmas lights. I'm sure people will pay us to put up Christmas lights." So he told me that, and I was like, "Nah, no one's going to pay us." Well, lo and behold, we found we had Christmas lights at the time, which now is involved into Clipa and everything. And we got with them, and we got late in the season, so we didn't get to do training. So we just got like a big manual, and that's how we got going the first year. Then we came out and met Josh and Matt the next year for in-person training. They're like, "Come on out, we'll let you come anyway." So we did, and then I think it was the next year they had to start doing trainings on the East Coast for them, and now of course it's gone to trainings all over the country and everything since then. So now we're certified trainers and installers and everything with Clipa, which has been phenomenal. And then since then we got into power washing and gutter cleaning as well.
Amazing. That's so cool. So you're one of the founding members here at Clipa, right?
Yeah.
You've been around for a long time. It's great to have you. And so some of you who have taken the Clipa certification training would already know Ryan because he comes in and does a lot of the training alongside Matt. But if you haven't taken it yet, we do have a bunch of trainings coming up. Like Ryan just mentioned, we have some coming up online. Actually, this month on the 18th, there's one, and then also April online. And then we have regional trainings coming up basically every month the rest of the year up until September. And they're located all across the country. So we're having, one in Missouri. We have one in Dallas. We have one all over the place. So if you're looking to come meet us in person, we're hoping that they're all going to be moving forward this year. Also the Clipa Conference. So that's coming up as well. So with you talked about having starting out thinking like no one's going to pay for these Christmas lights, right? A lot of people think that. And I get that all the time. Like, oh, you're in the Christmas business. What do you do the rest of the year? It's always the question. But it comes down to really you built your business and then you expanded on that business to include commercial, to include other gutter cleaning, window washing. So you've basically gone from not really having any idea about Christmas into making it this huge thing for you and also commercially. So I don't know if you want to talk about, I know you want to talk about leasing versus selling, but maybe you can start out letting us know, what did you do when you first started doing Christmas? What was that like for you? Like, was it a big shift for you or?
Yeah, so that was in 2012 was the first year. And as you recall, that was kind of when incandescents were still really big versus LED. And we looked at the prices and we're like, no one's going to pay for LED. So we did incandescents the first year. Needless to say, the next year we took like a $30,000 cut just to switch everything over because I was like, we're not dealing with this again. Like the broken glass and the bulbs going out and, overloading circuits and stuff. I was just like, nah, we're done. We're not doing this. So we then went into LED. So we've been doing LED since 2013 now on. That's all we'll do. And then we started off doing residential, very little commercial, maybe make a restaurant here or a little business or something. But it was probably about 4 years ago now is really when we started saying, let's get into commercial. And it was actually, we came out to a show in Vegas with Wayne Crystal Lights at the time. And I actually was there and trying to promote my company for commercial stuff. And I ran into some guys from Augusta, Georgia, because we're here in Atlanta, and talked with them. And I was like, hey, if you ever need anything, they're property managers. I was like, here's our card. And they're like, okay, great. So it was a year later, they reached out to me and they're like, hey, the vice president did and said, hey, the president really was impressed by you coming up and giving him his card and talking about your business. Will you come to South Carolina and do a job for us? And I was like, I was like, yeah, okay. So that was how that was. It was a year later after I gave that card away. So that just shows you sometimes like putting those feelers out there, especially as you know, commercial can take a long time to get your foot in the door in the sales cycle. And that was the one where you actually, Stacy, helped me quote that. We didn't get it that year. They gave it back to the old guy. Then he screwed it up. and they called us and said, hey, we don't want to use him anymore. He didn't show up on time, whatnot, and went and fixed stuff. So now we're going to go with you. So that's been 3 years. And then that same year, we got another big outdoor shopping center as well that we bid on. So we kind of got both of them the same year. And it was like, okay, like we got to figure out how to do this. So that's pretty much how we get into the commercial. And it's been great. So
you just made it happen. And when you got the jobs, you just figured it out and made it happen.
Yeah. There's no other choice.
Right. You need the business, so you just move forward with it. Yeah. I remember helping you with that project. And I think that, and that like you mentioned, it does take sometimes a long, period once you meet the customer with, if it's a commercial project and then they need your services. It's usually like it's just good. It's good luck, good timing, right? Because you get in there right when they're maybe unhappy with their current vendor, and then they wait another season out because maybe there's history there. And then all of a sudden, oh, look, Ryan's here. He's going to help me. And then you become their savior for that season. And then you make Christmas happen for them. And here you are, and you become their the advocate for their Christmas, for their whatever business they're in. So it does have a lot to do with timing, but it also has to do with being persistent, right? You met them and then it was a whole year that went by till finally something happened. It's just a matter of getting in front of the people that you want to work with or the customers, and then they'll start coming once you just keep putting it out there that you're available.
Oh yeah.
So,
well, awesome segue from that into the leasing program versus selling was the reason why she said the property manager, the vice president said why we didn't get that contract is because I had done it as a selling it to them. But I'd asked them at the very beginning, would you want to do a lease? And they said, no, we want to buy it all. Well, then she said, that's why they went with the other guy back with him, because he was doing a lease. And I was like, what? I told you I would have done a lease. So what that segue is, and that's one of my key points I have here, is most of my commercial, I'd say 85% of them want it lease. They don't want to own it. They don't want to store it. They don't have to worry about it. They like the lease because it's not a big upfront cost. They can do it over 3 to 5 years and spread it out, the cost. And that's what they were wanting to do. So that's why we wound up securing the contract for 3 years with that, is through the lease also.
That's great. I have a question. So I know from me working directly with the commercial projects and having leases versus selling, usually what I'll do is I'll give them the option of either or. But how do you handle the upfront overhead costs the first year on a lease, since you are giving them, much more product and much more service, labor costs the first year than you're getting back, right? So how does that work out for you?
So usually how we've been doing it is usually the first year will cover our costs. We're not going to really make much money the first year. By the time you look at it and you buy everything, you pay your labor, you're probably not going to make hardly any money on that. That's why you want to sign a 3 to 5 year deal, because you're going to make your money second, third, fourth, fifth year. But they know that. And so when I was talking with them, I told them, I'm like, look, I'm going to get this as low down as we can for you, and we'll stretch it over 3 years. So that's what we wound up doing for them. We made a little bit of money, very little. It wasn't a lot the first year. But the second and third year, it was like all profit. We placed some bows. We had to place, a little bit of lights here and there, but it was all paid for. So that's the beauty of it. That's why you want to make sure you lock it in. If you do that, you got to lock it in for 3 to 5 years plus, because that's how you're going to make your money long term. You're not going to make that the first year. And that's what I try to tell guys when they're getting into commercial. I'm like, just so you know, you're not going to make, like these big commercial jobs, you're not going to make a killing if they lease it the first year. So just know that up front.
Yeah, it's really important to get that signed multi-year contract, definitely.
Yeah.
And I've found with businesses most of that, because like you said, they want just the ease of getting it done and not having to deal with storing it or figuring it out. You just become the expert for them, where they can just trust you to know that they're going to have a good looking Christmas for the next 3 years. And who wouldn't want that, right? It's out of their hands. They just get to say, okay, Ryan's handling it. We're good. And then they look great to their bosses or their owners if they're working for a company, or if they're the owner, they get to just not have one less thing on their plate to deal with. As we know, that's what we like, right? More free time for ourselves. So you want to talk a little bit more about the process of putting a lease together? That'd be great.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of talk about residential too in there. So I'll kind of like tell you what I'm talking about more because I know a lot of guys are in the residential fields too. And that's why I get a lot is, okay, it makes sense for commercial, but why does it make sense for residential? I have people all the time calling me and asking me, and 95% of our jobs are all leases. I'd say we have very little, we don't sell hardly anything unless it's like a huge custom item or it's someone's leaving the lights up year round. So, excuse me. So obviously the biggest key point of the lease is you own the material. It's all yours. It's an asset. Versus if you sell it to them, you don't have that as an asset. If you had to go tomorrow and sell your company, I have a whole warehouse full of material right now that we could go sell. But if I was selling it to the customers, I don't own any of that. That's not an asset. So that's probably one of the biggest things is I would say with that. The other thing is the client doesn't have to if they do it next year, you don't have to, if they don't sign up, I guess, and renew, then you can go use that material somewhere else. So you're not, for a residential, if they're not in a month, like a yearly contract, multi-year contract, you get to go use that stuff somewhere else. So that's a huge selling point as well, not to the customer, but for you to want to do leasing, because once again, that's stuff you've already paid for. So yeah, you might take a little bit of time to recut it or reuse it or whatnot, but it's a lot of money. Then clients know the price every year. It's pretty much ours is set. So unless we have a price increase, they know what their price is going to be. There's no like hidden fees. Like if you sell the lights to them and the first year it might be for residential, it might be like a $2,000 job. And then the next year you install it for, $1,200 or something because you had to buy all that material. Well, with us, it might be $1,500 every year. And that's what they pay. And they never have to buy new material. They never have to replace anything. So what happens is I've seen on the selling side of it, then you have to go to the customer and be like, oh, hey, Mr. Customer, it's supposed to be $1,200, but I got to buy all new greenery. And now it's going to cost you $1,800 again this year. Now, and they're like, what? I didn't budget it in. I don't have that kind of money laying around. And then they get all mad. And then, the install looks bad because they are trying to push the product out for longer than we try to use ours 4 years and then we retire it. So, I've seen it where they try to push it 6 to 8 years and the greenery's looking dingy and the bows are pink and not red anymore and stuff. So that's the thing with us is we go to a job and my guys know a bow looks bad, they just replace it. Like they just put a new bow on and that, because we want it to look tip top shape. That's what the client's paying for.
Yeah, so you just mentioned something that's really important is when you're doing a lease to make sure that your product will last the term of the lease, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly.
If you're working with exterior bows and garlands and wreaths and things like that, the max you want to really use those bows or ornaments, if they're not UV rated, those won't last more than a year. But the bows and ornamentation has to be UV rated, UV coated, and then the bows, the outdoor material, or else the first year they're done. They're in the sun for 3 weeks, then they're orange. They're no longer red. They're orange, right? And we don't want that. So making sure that you're putting in your bid the pricing for either refurbishing those items if you're buying the lower cost items that aren't going to last as long, or going ahead of time and buying the more expensive, the more quality products. Then you'll be higher priced, but the quality will be so much better. That's always, people don't understand that a lot in this industry. They just think, oh, a bow is a bow. Go to Walmart, get a bow. Go to Michael's, get a bow. And it's like, no, you can't put that outside, especially in weather. Not
3 weeks, and it'll be the UV. It's not UV rated. It'll be pink or whatever. So, and we've had clients ask us to do that, and I'm like, we'll put your bows up, but we can't. We're not going to warranty that. So your bows are going to, look. If they look bad, you can't call me and be like, hey, I need you to come switch these bows out because they're your bows.
Yeah, they can buy new ones and we'll charge you labor to replace them if you need us to. But
yeah, exactly.
We're letting you know ahead of time that they're not going to last.
Yeah, that is the one thing. We make sure we use all commercial grade, high quality stuff at all of our jobs, whether it's residential, commercial. And with the residential, we're definitely not the cheapest in the area. We're giving a high level service to our clients, and the clients we're catering to want that worry-free, all-inclusive package, and that's how I sell it to them. I'm like, look, this is all you do is you call us up, we come in, we design it, we set it up with you, you agree to it, and then after that, every year we're going to reach out to you, and you just tell us, yeah, let's do it. Or if the beauty is you can change it because you don't own the material. So next year, if you want to do, add wreaths and take off the trees, we can do that. And we'll just switch it out and change the price or whatever. But if not, we'll get you on the schedule. We get it installed. We don't have to worry about them owning the material. So we don't have to worry about if the customer leaves the material sitting on the porch for us because they're storing it. Because that'll happen, like guaranteed. They'll be like, oh, I'm out of town for a week, and now your whole schedule's messed up because you can't get that job that is on the far side of the city that you were supposed to do that day with other jobs. All of our stuff is in our warehouse. It's all labeled. Everything, we know how it's stored. So that way it's not like in a hot attic or, with, I took a commercial job over from another installer and it had water in the tubs. I don't know where he was storing it. All the lights were rusted and ruined. So that's the thing. You just don't know how they're storing it. So that's another benefit for you for the lease. But for us, it's just been worked out so much better for us, less worrying. Everything is on the truck that we need. Replacements are at the warehouse or most of the stuff's on the truck, unless it's like, something large.
Okay, great. So as far as the projects that you do when you're initially talking to the customer. Oh, can you hear me? Did you lose me? Okay, you keep talking if you can't hear me.
Nope.
I can hear you. Okay, I think that we're also live on
Can you hear me?
Facebook. Yes, I can hear you now. Can you hear me? Yeah? Oh, you keep breaking up. Okay, well, if anyone has any questions, I know that you guys are watching us live on Facebook, maybe on YouTube. Go ahead and put some questions into the chat and then we can answer them for you. Ryan is a wealth of knowledge regarding commercial and residential Christmas installation. He also does window washing and gutter cleaning. So anything about business regarding those businesses would be great to talk to Ryan about. Oh, now I hear myself in Ryan's.
I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear myself echoing back.
Oh. Huh.
I don't know.
I think it's because let me see.
Those AirPods, okay, I'm telling you.
No, yeah, my computer all of a sudden switched from my earpod to the computer. That's why it was on. So we're good now.
That's so strange. Well, I was just saying, if anyone has any questions for you, Chris has a question. He's asking, what is your pricing structure for leasing?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what we did is we actually, I think I have it in here. We just made a whole sheet up of what our prices are somewhere. I think I moved it. We made a whole pricing sheet. But what we do is you need to go through and see what your cost is for everything. So, where it is. Must have got moved. It was in here the other day. But so what you need to do is you need to go through and price out how much it's going to cost you to do a job. So, if you're selling right now, then you need to find that out. But because the thing is with the lease, even on the residential side, you're going to make money the first year. You're not going to make a lot of money, but the second, third year, fourth year of those installs, you're going to make more money. What I try to do is I try to price it out like I'm selling it to the customer. So what's that first year price if you sold it to him? Maybe just say it's $2,000. And then if the second year, if you were going to sell it to him, what would you install it for? Maybe it's $1,200. Well, I usually try to go in between that and come somewhere in between there. And how I usually break it down, if a customer wants me to show them the pricing, is I tell them, okay, for 4 years of you doing it this way, it's going to cost this much money. And with our lease, it's going to cost this much money. But then after 3-4 years, you're going to have to replace your material on owning it, and there could be this percentage of cost to have to redo it. So then I kind of give them hard numbers of that, and then usually it comes out to where it's about the same cost, and then they don't have to worry about it. They don't have to worry about influx of pricing or whatnot. So most of my customers now are just like, yeah, that sounds great. We don't want to have to deal with it. So everybody's pricing is going to be different because what I charge versus somebody in California or New York might be totally different. But I mean, we're just so you know, like C9, we do 15-inch spacing. This year we were like $657 a linear foot for us to lease it to them. So per year.
What was it? You said $16 per linear foot?
No, $6.5 to $7.
Oh, like that's a lot.
No,
That's
I
commercial.
wish.
Those are my projects, sorry.
Yeah.
In California. All right, Josh has a question. Do you see pushback from the clients when trying to sell them a lease versus lights?
Yes. Yeah, we will. So where I see this the most is if a customer has used another company that has sold them the lights versus us leasing them, then that's where you'll get the most pushback. But sometimes those clients want to move to the lease as well because they've dealt with the other clients. And I've heard horror stories of people with them like, oh, well, we bought these wreaths with pine cones on them and like, red and white bows. And then they showed up with a wreath with no pine cones on it the second year and no bows. And they told me that's my wreath. And I'm like, showed them pictures. I'm like, no, this is the wreath you put up. And they're like, no, we don't put up that wreath. So with us, all our wreaths are the same. I mean, we will order ornament packages, but it's really easy. It's like silver and blue, red and silver, red and gold. So it's very just your basic colors for them. So, and we take pictures of every single job when we take it down. And then, so we know, and we can show the customer, no, this is what you had last year. But so we will get some pushback. The thing you have to remember is not every customer and every person you go bid is your customer. If that's your model and they don't fit within your model, then that's not your client. And what happened is when we first started really pushing the leasing, I guess it was a mindset shift for us as well. Just like you were thinking, oh, no one's going to pay for Christmas lights. You didn't think nobody's going to do leasing because you wouldn't do leasing, or you haven't done leasing, so you can't wrap your mind around it. But once you take that mindset shift and you're like, no, this is what we're doing, and everybody knows it, and if it's just you or you have office staff or whatever, and they have their script and they pretty much pre-screen the clients, and then they tell them, we lease it. And if they say no, we want to buy it, then we say we're sorry. That's not what we do. That doesn't fit in our model. We're sorry we couldn't help you. So it gives you the time to work with the customers that want to be your clients, not the people that don't fit within your model.
I want to say I really do agree with you about the mindset shift. A lot of people think, well, I wouldn't pay that much money to have someone put that on my house, or I wouldn't want that for my business or whatever. And I'm not my customer, right? Yep. Like whatever I believe about what my customer wants is what I'm going to be attracting in my business, right? So I have to change my mindset and say, okay, this is what I want my customers to want. So here we go. We're going to do this. And it really does help out. It does help. It's life-changing, basically business changing, when you shift your mindset to understand that this is who you are, this is what you're doing, and that you're really solid on that ground, and you're teaching all of your reps and all of your internal folks that this is what your business is about, this is what you do. Then you're going to be doing what you do well, instead of having to do a bunch of stuff that you're not doing well. Right? Yep. So we had another question. Roger asked, what percentage should we look for regarding cost and labor? Cost/labor.
Yeah, I guess he means like the cost of the lights versus labor. For us, usually we're around like 30, maybe 35% for our material cost on a job. Maybe as high as 40 if you're getting into some really big custom things that can cost a lot more. And then for the labor, I'd say we're usually about the same, about 30%, give or take, in there for our cost for our labor. And obviously, the second, third year, you're not going to have as much cost in there for materials. I mean, obviously, you're going to have some stuff, and there's going to be lights that go bad. You're going to have the guys are going to drop a wreath and bend it, so you have to replace a wreath. But the percentage, it goes way down. So what I usually tell people is the first year, even in selling the lights to the customer, you're not going to make as much money. But with leasing, you're not going to. But the second, third, fourth year of having that is really where you're going to make your money on that lease. And the lease, you make even more money every year. But the same notion, though, we replace everything. I mean, it doesn't, unless it's an act of God or someone steals something, and those kind of things we don't cover. But theft and stuff. But that's, besides that, it doesn't matter if they think the wreath is bent, then we'll go replace the wreath. I mean, that's what they're paying for. They're paying for that high level service.
Exactly. That makes sense. Thank you for that. Juan Carlos is asking, are quoting everything at 6.5, and then he also wrote, and $7 is for high peaks.
Yeah, so it kind of just varies. one is that's kind of like our range. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've gone higher. I've probably gone to 6 if it's, super huge building before, but that's probably our sweet spot is 6.5 or 7. And then, yeah, if it's something more technical, we're going to go 7, 750. So yeah, you're correct.
Awesome. So Chris is asking, well, Courtney is asking for Chris, what CRM software do you use, Ryan? Does it store pictures of jobs for you?
Yep. Oh, hold on.
I wonder if do we lose you again? Are you there? I think we're having some more audio difficulties.
Okay, you there? I found out what happens. It's picking up Bluetooth on my phone is what it's doing.
Ah, see, all your combined devices.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Yeah, so the CRM software we're using right now is the Customer Factor. We're looking at changing it because we've kind of outgrown that. It's really good for I say smaller companies. For a couple trucks, we're getting into, probably this year, we're probably going to have 7, 8 trucks going. So we're kind of running into some issues with it. Right now, for all the pictures for our job, we use Google. We have a Google file for each customer. My guys can log in on their iPads. Every truck has an iPad. So we use Markup to Market, and then we store it in there. So if we go to sell it, we can put the photos in there for the client. And then when we take the job down, the photos also go in there. So that's the easiest. We also use Company Cam too. And if anybody's familiar with that, you can do really good before and afters with that and stuff. And that holds it all for each client at their address and stuff. So there's multiple different ones out there. We're looking to right now for a new CRM is I'm trying to look for something that does inventory too, because that was our pitfall this year. Having 4 or 5 crews running is tracking inventory. You there?
No, my audio was gone. Okay. Yep. I have to mute myself because I have this dog running around with a squeaky toy. And so that's like going on in the background while you're talking. Anyway, so Tim had the same question, like what different types of software or programs do you use to help run your business? And what I heard you say was Google Drive. I love it. Yep. I'm totally obsessed with Google right now. It works. It's so great. I love having the shared documents and being able to everyone share the files and have everything in the same spot where everything's updated at once. I love that. A little bit of a learning curve for me because I'm really like Outlook type of like old school person when it comes to that, but definitely Google's been great. But we also here at Clipa, we use Infusionsoft, which is just an automated CRM type program. You have to kind of have somebody on staff that knows how to run the back end part of it to keep that going really well. So that's something I'd recommend for everybody. But what's the other one that you said? Client Cam, or what was it called?
No, Company Cam. So what it is, it's for pictures. So you can take before and afters, and it has like you take a before and it shows you how to take, it like kind of mirrors the before over the after. So you can show you how to take the photo. So it looks exactly the same. It puts your watermark on it. And it all is in there by address, by client, and everything. So you can put notes and stuff in there. So we just started using that for power washing, gutter cleaning. We're probably going to use it for the lights too, because the salesperson can go out and take photos and mark it up on there and everything. So we just started using that. It's not super cheap, but works really well. So you pay per user on it.
All right, great. That's good. All right. So do we have any other questions from our audience out here for Ryan while he's on here? If not, we'll just let him keep talking about business because that's what we want to hear.
Yeah. Well, like you said, we did more in revenue last year in Christmas lights from October to December than we did the rest of the year for gutter cleaning, power washing. So when I tell people that, like, are you crazy? Is that crazy? Are you right? That's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, but we've been doing that longer than we have the power washing, gutter cleaning. So we built that up, and it's, you know, a huge part of our business.
And so something that a lot of people want to know as well, that I've heard from a lot of the new CLIPA trainees and members, is how do you how do you handle like scaling your business when you're going from, you know, just a couple of, like you said, you have 2 or 3 trucks now going up to 7 or 8 trucks. Like, what do you have to let go of as a business owner or a partner to allow that to happen? I mean, that's kind of a big question, because people think like, there's no way I can do twice as much as I'm doing now. There's no way I can do.
Yeah,
whatever.
you can't. You're correct. You can't do that. You have to have a really good team around you. The first thing that really freed me up was when we hired an office manager. That was key. And when I say office manager, I literally mean somebody that manages the office, not somebody that answers the phone. Anybody can have that, but when you really have somebody that manages the office and takes all that off of you, that's huge. And then after that, I was doing all the sales, and I got off the truck and stuff. And that's really when we grew a lot that year. And then now since then, we've hired a salesman, and he's doing, you know, 85% of the sales. So we'll probably be hiring another one here in the next week or so, next month or so, I guess. And so finding those people to delegate that to is huge. Yes, it's tough, especially for us as business owners. We think we can do everything the best, and a lot of times some stuff we can, but I can tell you right now that I cannot run the office the way my office manager does. She does spreadsheets, and I love reading spreadsheets and data, but I hate building it. Like, that is not me. She's awesome at it. So finding those people that can complement us in our business is the way you're going to scale, because you cannot do more work yourself. We got to a point where me and Brett, my business partner, and even having guys, we could only do so much. And so you have to find those key people. You know, we're probably going to have to hire an operations person this year just for lights. Brett usually does that, but he's not going to be able to keep it up with the many crews we have. So
it's great. So delegation, trusting your employees, hiring people who can do the work just as well, if not better than we can. Right.
Yeah.
And we have Timothy asking, how many years doing lights? I think you said 2012, right? Is that when you started?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So 9 years this year, right? 9 seasons.
Yep.
Great. Yeah. I'm going into my 19th season. I feel so old today saying that. Oh my gosh. All right. And then we have Roger asking a question. There, you can read it.
Yep. So
Lots
first
of numbers.
year, 35% cost, 30% labor. That leaves 35% profit. What do you look for on net profit? I'd say the first year, Roger, for your net profit, you're really not gonna make a lot of net profit. You might make, you know, I would say maybe 10%, maybe a little bit more depending on if you're out working or you have guys out working for you. But the second and third year, your net profit's probably going to be closer to 30%, if not more. That's the beauty of the lease. It could be as high as like 40 something percent. You know, everybody's business is different. You know, we have a huge commercial space now, you know, 8,500 square foot space. So if you're working at your house, you might make a lot more net profit than like we are right now. So everybody's is a little different, but when you're looking at that, I have people that we, you know, train, and they're like, man, the first year I did all this revenue, but I didn't make much money. And I'm like, well, I kind of told you that up front, that you're not going to make a lot of money. You might be able to pay yourself a wage. You're not going to make a lot of net profit that first year. You know, you might be able to pay yourself, pay your guys, and then you have all that material as an asset. But the second, third year is really where you're going to start making that money.
Yeah, it's definitely a few minutes ago about making sure that you're structuring your business to your business plan, however it is you want to be profitable in the years to come. So you're not going to be taking on jobs that aren't going to be profitable years 2 or 3. You're not going to say, okay, I'll give you an annual lease to not make any money, right? And then you're
exactly
putting up other people's lights, things like that don't allow you time to grow the business. I mean, that's the key is to put yourself in a place where a position where you can grow and you can be successful, even if it's a slower process, right? Even if you're growing X amount every year and not just, you know, crushing it with all this growth. It really depends on how much you're willing to let go of, right? Like you were talking about a minute ago, how much can you delegate off to allow for that growth to happen?
Oh yeah, I mean,
Um,
I've seen companies do upwards of 700,000 to $1 million and they make no profit. And then I've seen
yeah,
companies that are doing $300,000 a year make way more profit than the $1 million companies making. Just because you're doing $1 million in revenue doesn't mean you're making a profit, because you might be doing jobs that you're not profitable on. So that's the thing. And you are correct. For us last year, we had our minimum was 1,000, and then we went up to I think like 1,250. This year is probably going to be 1,500. We're not going to do a job less than that. We were going to raise it this year, but then with COVID, we decided not to. But our average ticket's about $2,700 for residential here for us in Atlanta. Now I know guys in other markets, their average ticket's like $700 because they do a lot of roof lines. That's awesome, great. If that's what you got to do in your area, then every area is different and can dictate different prices and average tickets. But whatever model works for you, just make sure you do that. And they also say we don't want to do a lot of trees. We do tons of trees. Wrapping trees. So it's really just up to, what your model is. If you want to just go and do roof lines and do them, 500, $700 at a pop, and you can do 12 a day. Awesome. So it doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just, I'm just telling you this is the way we've done it with ours.
all right, great. Can't see if there's any more questions here for you. Otherwise, I think we're going to wrap it up unless you want to give us some final.
No, I mean, the biggest thing I think I would say is, if you want me to kind of I think I said it earlier, is your mindset. Whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. And I think that I see, I've had a guy we trained, and he called me one day and he said, Ryan, I can't sell any jobs. And he was a home builder, sold $1 million homes, knew how to sell. He was a good salesman, great salesman. And I coached him up for like about 30, 40 minutes. He said, I'm about to go into another job. And I said, okay, you're going to sell this one. I said, I know it. You're going to sell this one. And I kind of coached him up on how to do it. He called me an hour later and said, I just sold her for $2,500, first job. And I told him afterwards, I said, you know what I did, right? He said, what? I said, I just loaned you my confidence for an hour. That's all I did, is loaned you the confidence to go and sell that. And sometimes we just get in our head and get in our own way. And sometimes that's why it's best to hire somebody else to do sales or somebody else to do that, because they have no connotations to how much the job should be or what people should pay. So sometimes those salespeople will do way better than we ever could. So.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Well, thank you, Ryan. So just a quick wrap up. We will see you then at our next training, right? You're going to be coming on the
Yes.
online training in a couple weeks. And then also April, that we'll see you also in May at the CLIPA Conference at Transworld, right? So if you don't know what Transworld is, definitely check it out. If you're a CLIPA member, you get special rates to go to our conference. Well, if you're just interested at all, anyone can come to the CLIPA conference, right? It's more of a high level training and introduction to a lot of the preferred vendors that CLIPA Buyers Group have. And it's 2 days, May 5th and 6th, at the same location that Transworld is at. Transworld is a Halloween and a Christmas trade show. So the Christmas side, there's, 40 or more Christmas vendors that are there, holiday vendors.
Yeah.
All from regular residential up to like the high level commercial Christmas vendors. And of course, CLIPA will be there with our booth, Holiday Dynamics, Reinders, and a bunch of other great Christmas commercial and residential Christmas folks. And that's happening the day after CLIPA conference and all the way through that Sunday. So the 5th all the way through the 10th, I think, is the last day. Anyway, so of May. So get your tickets, check out the website, and get all signed up for that. And if you're a CLIPA member, call your rep. They can help you find out if you need to pay to come into the conference. If you've already paid, then some people have, so they can come for free. It's a matter of getting your hotels and everything booked. Everything's booking up really fast. Luckily, there's a couple hotel rooms left at the same location as the conference, but I'm not sure as of today what that looks like. So you're going to want to get on there and get everything at least set up to go. There are conventions happening now at that location at the Americas Center, so we're pretty sure it'll be fine come May that we can all be there. So
awesome. I was just gonna say it's a great thing. I mean, let alone the classes and the speakers and everything is great, but getting to meet the other installers and learning tricks from them. there's an installer that's been an installer for We Ain't Custom Sites before I even was, and me and him sat down at lunch one day, and I convinced him to raise his prices. And because of that, he was actually able to make more profit that next year with less crews than he was before. And he like called me up and thanked me for that. He's like, man, you opened my eyes to charging more and stuff. And so sometimes, you know, just getting that one piece of advice from one person is awesome. So I would definitely look into it.
Yeah, we also have a social event happening a couple nights while we're there as well. And like I said, the trade show is happening at the same time. So once the CLIPA conference is over, the trade show is there. So you can come by and hang out at our booth and meet everybody on the CLIPA team and all the other people who are members and people who are in the industry. This is a great event to socialize and learn from, you know, the best of the best out there in Christmas. So definitely should come check it out. And all right, so I think that we may have asked you this last time. I think that Matt asked you this question, but I asked all of my people I interview if you had any nicknames growing up.
Yeah, my parents called me Buddy. I was always
Buddy.
So yeah, like,
that's
hey,
my
buddy.
dog's name.
That's probably the main nickname, I'd say.
Did they call you
and
Bud?
then my last name's Fox, so all my friends would always call me Fox. So.
And they called you Fox, of course.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ryan, for being on here. We'll see you really soon. Thank you, everybody who tuned in, and we'll see you guys all soon. See you later.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks.